Alright, we can see our engine isn't making it past the compression stroke. In this case, we know it has a bad camshaft, so we're only going to talk about that in detail. This can also mean a couple of other things. The cylinder could be full of gasoline, but we know this has a bad camshaft, so that's what we're going to talk about. So the engine won't go past the compression stroke. Sometimes you can spin them counterclockwise until you hit the compression stroke the reverse way to get a little momentum, and they'll power through. In this case, it's not. We can hear the battery trying everything it can try to get this bad boy to spin over, but it's not happening. Now we're going to take the engine off. In order to do that, we're going to use a 3/8 or a number 10 to take our heat shield off, or exhaust shield, however you'd like to call it. You have two on this side. You have two on this side. Now down in underneath, we'll have to take our main pulley off. So we have our upper pulley that goes to our transmission, has our transmission belt. This is our lower pulley that runs our deck. And we'll use the impact on these. We'll have to take that bolt off. And then we have 4 motor mounts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our engine is ready to lift up off. A good place to grab is going to be either the valve cover, you can grab the exhaust, and then down in under here you have your starter. You can grab a hold of your starter. On the other side, you can grab your oil filter. Some of these smaller Briggs and Strattons don't have oil filters, so if it doesn't, just find a nice sturdy spot. I wouldn't recommend grabbing this plastic here because it can just pull up and break. So these are looks to be a 1/2 inch. I'm using my impact set, so I'm going to use a 13. Alright, so we have all of these broken loose. We'll just take them all. They all should be the same length. We are going to just take them and put them all side by side as we take them out, just to double check they're the same length. They are. Never know whenever they change things up. They like to do that. To split. So we're just going to go around. We're going to tap all the way around. We can tell that's a deeper thud, deeper sounding. So we know that some magic's happening there. This case is starting to lift up off of there. Besides, it's going to want to just come right up off of there. Just like that. Just like that. Okay. Oh yeah. Beautiful. We have a new one of these just for the heck of it. We're going to keep our old one for now. This just lifts up out of here. Got a little mechanism here that flashes oil around. This is our governor right here. I don't know if you can see on the side here, but we have our carburetor. This is our governor, which pulls on a spring over here on the side and controls the throttle anyhow and comes inside. We always want to check these, make sure they're working. They can also brake. Seems like everything's nice and tight right there. and when I move that, it moves outside, and you can't see because this is the choke flapper, but our throttle flapper's in the back. Kind of cool to see that coming down and then going all the way to our throttle, which goes to our air intake here. Alrighty, so this is the actual issue. Not this guy, I apologize, I spoke a little too soon. This is the actual issue right here. This is our camshaft. So we need to pull this guy up out of there. And I think in order to do that, which we just did, just like that. This is our new camshaft. We can see our compression release right here. What happens is, at a low RPM, when you're trying to start the engine, this mechanism stays in, and we can see right here that this sticks out a little bit, and it bumps our valve right here. This is our push rod. Once we get up to a higher RPM, the camshaft starts spinning much faster, moving the compression release out, and we can see what happens is there's a flat spot right here, and then our cam lobe is nice and smooth, low RPM. It is sticking out a little bit, and that's our little bump to help it get started. And how hard would it be to get a group of engineers together at Briggs and Stratton to fix this issue? Probably not very hard. I mean, I guess I'm not running the show down there, so can't really say much. Now we need to get our pieces out of there. I'm gonna try a magnet and see what we got. Oh, good lordy. Look at that, will you? There is our old compression release. A little piece of aluminum. It didn't stick to the magnet, but thankfully the oil, once it touched the magnet, allowed it to stick. So we pulled our spark plug out so that there's no compression in our cylinder. You may be looking at this and say, what? Compression? The engine's tore apart, but this side of the engine isn't actually the side where we want compression. We want it up here in the head. So we pull our spark plug out so the engine can spin freely. And the reason I do that is so I can spin this around, and I'm still looking for that darn piece. There's one piece down in there that I can't find. Aha! Found it. Right there, folks. Right there. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're using a razor blade to get in underneath our gasket and peel it up. Some portions of it you may get lucky and peel up a big chunk like this. Some portions over here you can see it's stuck pretty good. So we'll have to come back over this, clean her up a little bit better. You can always put a little bit of gasket material on each side. So basically gasket material, and then gasket material, and you just kind of sandwich that all back together. You can see from factory, I don't think they did that. I think they just used a gasket. You'd be fine if you just use the gasket, but you want to make sure you get it really clean. And I'm not going to bore you with that, so we'll catch you in a minute. Oh yeah. Never put her in dry. Lube it up good. What we're going to be looking for here is we're going to be looking for a dot here and a dot here. Here's here. And we can see a dot and a dot. We want those to line up. We've cleaned up the bottom of our crankcase here. Oil pan, whatever you'd like to call it. And you can see a little bit of gasket on here. You could go all day if you wanted to. I'm going to put a little bit of gasket material on both sides here, on the bottom and the top, so that'll help. What I also like to do is some carbon choke and spray carbon choke on a rag and go around and wipe this. That gets all of our oil and dirt and dust and everything off. And we need to remove our oil seal, and then we need to take apart our oil pump, because when we put it back together and we drop this guy back down on, it makes everything easier to line up with the pin anyhow that goes into our oil pump, this guy underneath here. And I'm just going to go down in here like so. And a bigger screwdriver would probably work, but that baby came out of there and went zinging. First, we'll want to clean this out. So I'm just going to go like that. This stuff should evaporate out, but definitely don't want to have carbon choke in your oil pan or in your anywhere in there whenever we put it back together, because we want everything to be nice and lubricated. This side typically goes to the inside of the engine. I don't think I've ever saw it where it was the other way around. That'll make it slide in there a lot easier and seal up easier as well. Get it flush first. Where that hole was, right there, you see that hole? So there's a gap there, and we can't cover that hole up with the oil seal. I'm just going to run my finger around here and feel and make sure that both sides all the way around are nice and equal. Number 8 or 5/16. There we go. Magnet made that easy. I'm just going to make sure that guy is clean. We can see our oil pump. We have an opening on this side and an opening on that side. This goes down in and mounts into our camshaft with that notch, and then this goes in the top to our oil pump and just spins around this, and as it moves it around, it pushes the oil into the other opening. So we have some gasket compound material here. You just take your little brush. I'm gonna rub it around. Get it all good. Oh, that might have been a little heavy right there, but no worries. Looks like that there. We're just tapping down here, lining up all of our holes. We have our little oil thrower here, goes onto our governor. It's basically, the faster this spins around, these mechanisms spin out, push out, go up against our governor, and again, we went over that earlier, that controls our throttle. Shoo, that guy just slides down in here like that. Gotta get it lined up. That's it. And it just goes like right there. As long as that little push rod there with these, when it spins fast and that pushes these out, which push up against our governor, that rod has to go up against our governor. And the gear, the plastic gear here, has to be in our camshaft gear. So that's it. Now we can drop our oil pan down on. We were having some problems getting it to line up a second ago. So hopefully we can get it to go down on here. Okay. A little tap tap there, a little tap tap there. Now we're looking at our oil seal, giving us a little problem. So we need to get a little screwdriver, and we're just going to go around here and basically make sure our oil seal doesn't get pushed up around. And I know what you're thinking. The first time I kind of did one of these, or was thinking about doing one of these, I was like, well, who the heck puts the oil seal on and then puts the freaking case on? Because that just doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you put it on and then put the seal on? Well, you want to make sure you don't block that hole that we went over before. So that's why we do that. And we're just going to work it a little bit at a time and keep going back around and push this guy down in there. Now, that's not to say somebody with experience could just eyeball, you know, or find the actual measurement of how deep this oil seal is supposed to go and then put it on after the fact. Yes, that's absolutely a possibility, but that's not the way I did it. You want to do it the other way? Feel free. I'm sure it'll be just fine as long as you don't block that hole. That's the most important part. I'm going to put this down in first. Spin it. So we see this guy goes down. Oh, it's not going all the way down, not going all the way down. Spin it. Pop. There it is. Now we can take our oil pump mechanism and we will just kind of spin it around until it lines up. And what I'm seeing here now is, oh, there it is. Yeah, you heard it. Oop, there it is. Let me just get these down snug. I'm gonna come back to them after we go around and get all of these tight. Gonna be technical. You'll have to look up the specs on your own. I've done this a long time. So this guy just went on like this and came up on over the other side. These wires here were attached in there. Okay, a couple things I took off. Took off this wind director, I guess you'd call it, where the air is directed down over these fins here to keep the engine cooled. Took out our oil intake dipstick, so that just goes down in there. Our wires hook into that little slot there. You also want to make sure your wires get directed in the right spot. You don't pinch them as you're putting things on. I took our upper air intake off, so whenever we flip the engine over. So here, we're going to be going over how to adjust your throttle. So first we need to fully understand how this throttle works. If we start in the lower position, this is where the engine's going to be in the turtle mode, where it's going to be going as slow as it can without shutting off. And then as we go up, 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 there, we felt it pop in. That's our full throttle. Anything past full throttle is going to choke the engine, restricting airflow to pull more fuel, making it easier to start. Typically done on a cold start. Full throttle, choke. Pops in notch, full throttle, choke. Anything below this is just slowing the engine's RPM down. Okay, so now we're going to come down. On this machine, we have one cable that controls both our throttle and our choke. So we can see that our cable is not tight. This is where you adjust your throttle cable or your choke cable. You just have to loosen this up, and then this controls that. If we were to tighten this, that wire, as we're going to see here right now, the wire pushes in and out, and if that was tight, it would move this mechanism. So right here is, right about here is full throttle. Anything past full throttle, we're going to start to engage this lever here that goes up to our choke. So we push up, that engages our choke. That's going to be anywhere past that notch, that full throttle position. So now, what we'll do is we'll show you guys how that works, and then we'll show you how to adjust it a couple different ways. So we're going to push this lever, and that engages our choke. Choke on, choke off. Choke on, choke off. Okay, so back here, let's put our throttle up here, our throttle, is in the notch position, the full throttle position. And we'll take our cable to where it should be. Right here is the full throttle position, and we could tighten this down right now, and what would happen is, let's see if I can hold it, and if I push that up, it engages the choke. And we can also put the throttle and the choke all the way up position, and then we would just have to come back down here with this guy being loose, and then we push it all the way back. We know our choke is engaged because this just pushed up, engaging our choke, and then we can tighten this.